Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Natalie Rahr at NeuroKids Canada, and I wanted to kick off um, Autism Awareness Month this year with a story about me. Um, I am the founder of NeuroKids Canada, and I very often get asked how I ended up doing this work, how this work found me. And not often do I share the story of how NeuroKids came to be. It came to be, out of really a long career that I had in working with children with special needs, with various diagnoses or not diagnosed children, children who had challenges. And throughout my early career, I worked in multiple different settings. Now, but the real story behind that is how did I get to that work even, and therefore to where I am now, where we are now. Um, what how it happened is that I grew up with a neurodivergent dad. And you know, uh this was during a time where that generation, our parents' generation, didn't necessarily have a lot of support, and things that were not terribly obvious would be kind of swept under the rug. Um, Swept under the rug, not paid attention to. Mental health challenges were not taken seriously necessarily, unless they were extremely severe, of course. And in my dad's case, he had experienced a lot of early childhood trauma. That was part of the picture for him. But of course, when I was growing up with my dad, I didn't know he was neurodivergent. All I knew was I loved my dad. There were things that were challenging, very challenging. There were challenges in my parents' marriage. I learned from a very young age to care a lot about my dad and his health and how he managed or wasn't managing his health well. And only as an adult did I come to understand, oh, right. It wasn't just that there were mental health concerns because of the trauma he'd faced. There were there was some neurodivergence there, um, out of adaptation, but I now, in retrospect, know that there were other things going on that posed a challenge for him regardless. And I think I could venture to guess, and now, of course, I can't diagnose my dad, and he's no longer with us. So this is it's not something I can definitely do. But if I were to venture to guess, I would I would assume, and I have characterized for myself, for my own understanding as an adult, that he very likely would now have been diagnosed with possibly moderate to severe ADHD, for one, probably as a response to the trauma that he experienced in early childhood, in adapting by learning to avoid, learning to distract. How Dr. Gabor Mate talks about ADHD as a way for the brain, the developing brain, to cope, which is quite an interesting, beautiful take on it, I think, and very true. I don't know that my dad was already susceptible. He probably was. The other aspect to what I think was also at the foundation of what was going on for him was, I think he would have been, had he had access to support and assessments in that way, I think he probably would have been diagnosed as what they would have called at the time Asperger's. Um, or, now it's all under the umbrella of ASD, or autism spectrum disorder. And so it's something that's very dear to me. Um, exists really at the core of who I am, because this was my dad. This was one of the two people raising me. And there was a lot of mental health stuff that was compounded with what he struggled through in his whole life. And that meant that, again, with the lack of support throughout his life, it meant that for myself, it became very normalized. I didn't know necessarily until I was an adult that there was something, you know, um, not quite right for my dad. That there were things he struggled with from an early age. I mean, that I knew, but I didn't fully understand it till I was older, and of course until I was a professional and truly understood all of this, and understood the biomedical aspects of it that could have been prevented, could have been treated and supported for him. So, this is really at the heart of the work that I do, and therefore it's at the heart of NeuroKids and how NeuroKids is being built. My career has been very much geared towards supporting families with neurodivergent children. And this inevitably means that I also support so many adults who are neurodivergent. Maybe they're only getting diagnosed later in life, or maybe they've known all along and their child is also diagnosed. A lot of interesting, lovely, and difficult situations. Um, and so, yes, again, at the heart of NeuroKids is my story, and so I just wanted to share that with you. It, of course, informed my decisions in life, my aptitudes in life, what I, from a very young age, cared so deeply about without realizing I did, and just naturally ended up in that field, in this field, or in education at first, that or in the education setting at first for me in my career, and eventually led me to look deeper, like what else could I be doing to be supporting um, families who are experiencing this, and ultimately it's honoring my dad. So thanks for listening to my story. There it is. Again, it's at the heart of NeuroKids Canada, and so I welcome you, and I welcome you and want you to know that that is what is at the heart of NeuroKids Canada. Thank you so much.